Breaking news tonight on To the Point. A historic conviction. A jury finds former President Donald Trump guilty on all 34 felony counts in his hush money trial.
This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt.
What this means for his future and his run for the White House, we're hearing from the experts. Plus, new reaction tonight from local Congress members on Capitol Hill. And later, as the state closes death row, more families share their concerns.
Please make it make sense. This cannot happen.
How the CDCR, prosecutors, and the governor's office are responding to one inmate transfer to a Vacaville facility.
We start with breaking news tonight. Former President Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. And this is the first time in history a former president has been convicted of felony crimes. The 12-person jury deliberated for just 9.5 hours over 2 days before handing down the verdict. Here's ABC's Rena Roy with more from what happened in court.
Donald Trump returning to Trump Tower tonight as the first U.S. president to be convicted of felony crimes. Jurors delivering the verdict on 34 counts of falsifying business records in the hush money payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Trump reacting to the verdict.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here.
Last year, Trump pleaded not guilty to the felony charges brought by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. The case tied to that $130,000 payment his former attorney Michael Cohen made to Daniels just before the 2016 presidential election in exchange for her silence about her alleged sexual encounter with Trump. Prosecutors saying when Trump reimbursed Cohen, he purposely disguised it as a legal expense to hide the damaging information from voters. Trump denies that encounter with Daniels and maintains he did nothing wrong. The trial began in April. Prosecutors calling 20 witnesses to the stand, including Cohen and Daniels. The defense calling 2. Trump declining to testify in his own defense. Bragg reacting to the verdict.
While this defendant may be unlike any other in American history, we arrived at this trial and ultimately today at this verdict in the same manner as every other case that comes through the courtroom doors, by following the facts and the law, and doing so without fear or favor.
Crowds gathered outside the Manhattan courthouse erupting when the verdict was announced.
And again, that was Rena Roy reporting. Trump's falsifying business record charges carry up to 4 years behind bars, and it's not clear if the judge would impose that punishment, even if asked. Now, we know there are a lot of questions about what happens next, so we asked McGeorge School of Law Associate Dean Mary Beth Moylan. Here's what she had to say about the possibility of Trump serving prison time.
I mean, I think we just have to wait and see. I think there are factors that probably mitigate against jail time or very much jail time. On the other hand, he was found guilty of 34 counts of charges. And so I think it's going to be hard to see. I can imagine a situation where he serves some house arrest, where he doesn't have actual jail time, but that there are some significant consequences to the finding of guilty here today.
Now, Trump can appeal the conviction and has said that he would. However, Mary Beth Moylan says it could be hard for Trump to get a successful appeal. Here's why.
Usually what an appeals court is looking for is problems with the law that was applied. So there's a lot of deference given to the factual findings of a jury, and it's hard to overturn factual findings. If there were errors of law that were made by the judge, those would be a basis for an appeal. So Trump's lawyers will be looking to see, did the judge do something wrong? Did the judge give the wrong legal standard? But it's very hard to overturn the factual findings of the jurors.
And Trump's sentencing is scheduled for July 11th, just a few days before the Republican National Convention. The conviction and possible imprisonment will not ban Trump from continuing his pursuit of the White House. Casey Decker verifies why.
Let's verify. Can you be elected president if you've been charged with or convicted of a crime? Our sources are the Constitution and the U.S. Supreme Court. Article 2 of the Constitution lays out 3 eligibility requirements for becoming president. You have to be a natural-born American citizen, be at least 35 years old, and have been a U.S. resident for at least 14 years. That's it. No other requirements. And the Supreme Court has further ruled that neither Congress nor state legislatures can add new requirements on top of what the Constitution already says. The only way to change the requirements would be a constitutional amendment. So we can verify, yes, you can be elected president if you've been charged with or convicted of a crime. Even someone who's found guilty and sent to prison could still, legally speaking, if elected, run the country from a cell. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Tonight, we are hearing from local Congress members about today's news. ABC 10's Becca Hoppiger joins us now in studio. And Becca, you spoke with Congressman Tom McClintock.
Yes, the Republican congressman represents California's 5th congressional district, which includes Placerville, Modesto, Tuolumne County, and Calaveras County. He told me he's sickened by Trump's convictions, calling it a political hit job on the former president.
Of course, he's going to appeal it, and I still have faith in our justice system. I have no doubt this verdict will be reversed. I have no doubt this judge is going to be completely disgraced and will be remembered throughout history as one of the most perverted jurists in our nation's history. But that's going to take time, and we're on the eve of the most important presidential election in our lifetimes. We've crossed into a very dark chapter in our history, and it will be up to the American people to set things right in a few months.
Democratic Congressman John Garamendi, representing parts of Solano and Contra Costa counties, sent the following statement to ABC 10. The jury's decision is a seminal moment in America's ever-evolving democracy, the result of which will have a profound effect on our future. We should never underestimate the importance of the rule of law. Now, I also spoke with some local attorneys to get their take on all this. One brought up the question of whether Trump, if reelected, could pardon himself. Well, the president can only pardon federal crimes, and today's convictions, Alex, are, of course, state crimes.
Yep, and you can read more statements from local officials and see a timeline of what happens next in Trump's case on our website, abc10.com. Still ahead on To The Point, as California inmates are transferred off death row, a Vacaville woman shares her concerns after her mother's killer is moved to a facility where her son is currently serving time.
And if you're getting ready to head out the door, it is warm outside. You'll be dining with 88-degree temperatures, and by 9 p.m., about 76 degrees. We'll talk more about this heat up headed our way.
Plus, hundreds of survivors rally at the Capitol pushing back against proposed budget cuts, what they say could be on the line. So we are warming up. You probably felt it today. Let's get over to meteorologist Carly Gomez, because this is not the end of the heat for this week.
No, it's not. We did get hot today in the 90s, but we're still warming up as of tomorrow. And then you get one brief little cool down before another major heat up heads our way. Highs today, 91 in Sacramento with 92, 93 in Marysville and Oroville, 93 in Fairfield, low 90s there. Stockton, Modesto with those 80s for the foothills and mid to low 70s in the Sierra. Now, the daily almanac showing that the average this time of year is 84 degrees, and we've been pretty close to the overnight lows being close to par, but we're looking at a record of 103 degrees, and that's a number you'll want to keep your eye on, because moving into next week, where it looks like we may actually hit that number, depending on what day it is. We may even see record temperatures. Now, the heat risk into tomorrow's moderate, especially for areas around Yuba City and into those foothill spots. Areas around Roseville, Citrus Heights, and up to Auburn could begin seeing some moderate heat risks. It's going to affect people who are sensitive to the heat and maybe don't have adequate cooling, like air conditioning or a means to stay cool. Now, in the Big Mountain backyard, our temperatures are in the low 90s still, with upper 80s in Modesto, 93 in Marysville, 72 in Tahoe. Now, while we are warm and sunny into the weekend, we will see some evening breezes and gusty winds 15 to 25 miles per hour. This will cool us down into Saturday and Sunday. Then that major heat moves in from Tuesday to Thursday of next week. Take a look as we have more of a zonal flow here, and then into the weekend, a little bit of a dip there, a trough that'll cool us down briefly, but then massive ridge begins to build over the west coast, bringing in that heat at triple digits as we start moving from Tuesday, Wednesday to Thursday. But as we take a look at some of that cooling we'll be seeing off through the Delta, about 25-mile-per-hour wind gusts Friday, as well as moving into your Saturday. So that cools down just a little bit with your 10-day forecast, upper 80s through the weekend. Then there's those triple digits Tuesday to Thursday.
All right, Carly, thank you. Next, on To the Point. As the state closes death row, we're hearing from more victims' families, including a Vacaville woman who says her mother's killer has been moved to a facility where her son is currently serving time. How the CDCR, prosecutors, and the governor's office are responding to her concerns. It's a story we first brought to you last week on To the Point. The state is closing death row at San Quentin, and all condemned California inmates are moving to other high-level security prisons by the end of this summer. And now we're hearing from more families of those impacted by the change. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen shares a Vacaville woman's story about her mother's killer being moved to a facility where her son is currently serving time.
I see my mom not wanting to take the picture, but she did.
These photos of Angela Womble, her mom, and young son Terrence Henderson were taken in 1986.
I just see, the happiness, the love.
Only a few months after this photo was taken, her life would never be the same.
He shot my mother in the head in front of me.
In July 1986, Womble was living in Richmond with her mom and son. He was only 1.5 years old at the time. One evening, Womble remembers 2 armed men coming to her home, demanding money. One of them was Willie Darnell Johnson.
I said, I don't have any money. And he said, you do. And I'm like, I don't have any money.
Womble says she managed to give them about $100, but things quickly turned violent.
Johnson fired his weapon into the ceiling, and then weapons were pointed in the direction of me and my mother. And the initial shot scared my son, and so he started running. And so I was reaching to get him.
Johnson shot and killed her mother. Womble says because she was chasing after her son, that saved her life.
It prevented the shotgun blast from going in the head to grazing the head, the neck, and entering my left shoulder,
leaving her with severe injuries the rest of her life that still cause her pain to this day. Johnson was convicted of Womble's mother's murder and sentenced to death in 1987.
Even if it didn't bring her back, justice was served.
Since August 5th, 1987, Johnson has been serving his sentence at San Quentin. Then this May, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation sent Womble this email saying, quote, "You are receiving this email as the offender's assigned facility and custody location may have recently changed." Johnson had been moved to the California Medical Facility in Vacaville.
This cannot be happening. This, please make it make sense. This cannot happen.
In 2019, Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order to temporarily put a stop to the death penalty. Prop 66 that was passed by voters in 2016 allows the state to move death row inmates to high-level security state prisons where they work and pay restitution to victims.
He had no regard for victims or their families or friends that lived through the horrific events that happened in their lives, as well as the encouragement that took a long time for people to get where they can breathe again.
What was once peace following a death row sentence is now Womble's familiar feeling of fear and anxiety.
I now have about 8 cameras. I also have devices that I put in my doors to make sure that no one can get in. I'm pretty much a prisoner in my own home.
As for Womble's son, 39-year-old Terrence Henderson, who was also in the house the night of the murder, he's serving a 27-year sentence for second-degree robbery with an enhancement for use of a firearm during a bank robbery in the Sacramento area. He's in the California Medical Facility in Vacaville, where Johnson was recently transferred. The CDCR says they were housed at different facilities there, but Womble had concerns they'd run into each other.
Definitely a slap in the face. Unheard of. I'm actively talking with the district attorney's office, trying to get more information. How could this happen?
ABC 10 started making calls to state and county officials. The Contra Costa County DA's office tells us it has contacted CDCR about the issue. The CDCR tells us because of the DA's alert about the relationship between the two inmates, Johnson was being transferred to the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo. ABC 10 was first to notify Womble of the change.
I have deep empathy for victims of crimes, and I believe in justice.
During Governor Newsom's 2019 announcement of the moratorium on executions, he mentioned meeting with victims' families. ABC 10 asked the governor's office to give us an updated statement as more inmates are being moved off death row. Instead, his office pointed us to his 2019 remarks.
Do we have the right to kill? And that's a deep and existential question. I don't believe we do.
I'm disappointed, Governor Newsom. I can't imagine if the shoe was on the other foot, how you would feel, how you would have made your decision.
Jeannie joins us now, and she has been following this. A big question that a lot of people have is what happens to death row inmates after they're transferred out of San Quentin? What happens next?
Well, Alex, death row at San Quentin is actually 5 rows of concrete cells, and many media outlets have visited the cell blocks in recent months. Inmates have told reporters they are basically in a cage and are escorted everywhere in handcuffs. But with their transfers, they say they anticipate they'll be able to move around, talk, and do things on their own account. And CDCR says these inmates' sentences do not change. These transfers allow people to participate in work programs to pay court-ordered restitution for their victims. And Alex, I did speak with Angela Womble yesterday, and she told me she does not care about the restitution.
And I also do want to mention that according to the CDCR website, more than 160 inmates remain on death row. They will be moved by the end of summer. Jeannie, thank you for the update. And you already know we will continue to follow this. All right, more than 200 sexual assault and domestic violence survivors sounded the alarm today on what they say are looming state budget cuts to life-saving service programs. State lawmakers must balance the budget and fix a projected $27 billion shortfall. The legislature must figure out what services to cut or reduce funding for. Advocates are demanding that funding for their services is not reduced.
The governor does not sign that budget for ongoing funding. What we are going to have is we're going to have a minimum of 400,000 victims in California that go unserved, that end up on the streets, that end up being retargeted and re-victimized. That's what's going to happen.
The governor and the legislature have until June 15th to agree on a balanced budget. New tonight, Congress is opening an investigation into California's high-speed rail. They say the rail authority has not completed a single segment of the system, but has increased the cost to $128 billion. The plan aims to build a high-speed rail corridor that would connect Sacramento, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, and several cities in between. California voters first approved the initiative in a 2008 ballot measure. Lawmakers are demanding the Department of Transportation to provide documents on the status of the project, including a recent federal grant of $3 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure law to the California High-Speed Rail Authority. A bill that could increase access to opioid addiction treatments is one step closer to becoming a law. We recently featured the bill right here on To The Point. The bill, AB 2115, is now in the state Senate's hands after the Assembly passed it just last week. If it becomes law, it would allow doctors to provide methadone for take-home treatment access, and it would also remove some requirements that limit how patients are able to access addiction treatment. The self-governing homeless encampment, Camp Resolution, can stay open. The city of Sacramento extended its stay at the Colfax site until December 1st. And it comes after the city sent a letter saying they would terminate the site lease and require people to move out. A group representing the camp sued the city, and now they have a 6-month extension. A spokesperson for the group says, in part, we are going forward with our breach of contract lawsuit and making sure the city never tries to close this camp until it has kept its promise of full housing. And you can read more about Camp Resolution and the lawsuit on our website, abc10.com/tothepoint. And we are back right after this quick break with what we're working on for tomorrow. As we celebrate Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we are highlighting a historic monument that contains the names of thousands of people held in Japanese American incarceration camps during World War II. And this is an element of a three-part monument by the Era Project, and it's the first to list to exist that both comprehensive and accurate names. A USC religion professor and a group of researchers did the work to find the names of all the incarcerees and repair this historical record. Due to breaking news today, we will have this full story coming up tomorrow on ABC 10 News at 11 a.m. Find out how this project is reimagining what a monument looks like for these camp survivors. And you'll also hear from a longtime Sacramento resident about her time being incarcerated as a child. And coming up tomorrow on a special edition of To The Point, we are wrapping up Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month by highlighting stories of hope, heritage, and history across our communities. We dive into how our AAPI communities are growing and highlighting trailblazers, paving the way for others. So don't miss our special tomorrow at 6:30 right here on To The Point. As always, thank you so much for watching and for inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, make sure to reach out to me and the team. And remember, strangers are people you just haven't gotten the chance to meet yet. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.